Welcome back. Over the years, there have been so many contradicting studies over whether alcohol is good or bad for your health. Binge drinking is unquestionably bad, and one too many a day isn't good either. But what about a daily cocktail, a cold beer, or a nice chilled glass of wine? Sounds good to me. Well, Newsmax contributor and cardiologist Dr. Chauncey Crandall gives us his takeaway on this latest study and if it's okay to drink to our health.
Thank you, Lynn. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. You know, I have an innate curiosity about this drinking and these studies that are involving alcohol. Is it good for us or not?
Well, Lynn, you know, there are some studies recently that point that this is probably a good thing for some people. It's not my first choice, but we do know that alcohol can have benefit in preventing serious heart issues.
So are we saying that alcohol could actually be preventative maintenance? It could actually ward off either a heart attack or heart disease?
Well, we now know, based on studies, that alcohol has benefits. It can decrease the clotting factor of the blood by decreasing platelets and a chemical called fibrinogen. And it also elevates good cholesterol called HDL. So these three things together reduce the incidence of heart disease because of alcohol use.
Let's clarify alcohol, because in the past we've heard that red wine drinking could be heart helpful. Are you talking about red wine here, or are you including other alcohols as well?
Well, this study includes all alcohols, Lynn, but red wine in particular has high antioxidants. It would be my first choice if I was to pursue, drinking alcohol.
It seems almost comical that doctors would now say, sure, go ahead and have a drink. But as always, I'm sure moderation is part of that advice as well.
Well, it's not that I'm recommending alcohol. You know, there are other things that we can do to improve our risk against heart disease. But the studies do tell us, Lynn, that possibly a drink every other day will give benefit in reducing alcohol, but more than 4 to 6 drinks a week has no benefit.
Now, does that change for the sexes? Should I drink more or less than perhaps my husband?
Well, the American Cancer Society says that women can limit themselves to 1 drink a day and men 2. That is the maximum. I would recommend 1 drink every other day.
You said earlier that there are other things that we can do, so let's expand on that a little bit. We've talked about the alcohol and we've gotten your advice on that, but what else could we be doing to make ourselves heart healthy?
Well, you know, the main thing, Lynn, is eating well. That is the #1 thing that will reduce heart disease. So eating a plant-based diet with the addition of possibly cold water fish and poultry would be #1. The second would be exercising an hour a day. I think that is very important, and walking is a great exercise for 1 hour. And the third would be maintaining ideal body weight, Lynn. That's very important. And fourth, of course, stopping our cigarettes and lowering our stress is very important for these people to reduce the risk of heart disease.
Let's expand on that exercise and eating correctly, because a lot of people feel like they're already too far gone. There's nothing that they could do, or they're not interested in exercising, or it's just too hard to fit it all in. What do you say to those folks?
Well, I would just say start small. Start on a 15-minute walk every day and then work your way up. You can do this. People need to understand that they're entitled to have victory in their body and in their health, but they must start. And the body, Lynn, is remarkable. It wants to return to normal. You just need to assist the body. So I would tell them, walk an hour a day, pursue the plant-based diet, and you're going to live a long life.
Sounds like great advice, but the best advice I think any cardiologist is going to give to our viewers is stop smoking if you are smoking right now.
Absolutely. That is the #1 thing to do.
So how do they do that? Because again, like the diet, like the exercise, people say, I've tried it in the past, I just can't do it, I just don't want to, I enjoy it. What do you say to them?
Well, smoking is very addictive. It's just like any other addiction. They must start and make a decision that they want to stop. They can get counseling through their physician service. They can go on some additional medications that help them withdraw from tobacco, but it can be done, Lynn. I've seen it over and over again. They need to make the first step and stop, and then they need to pursue that, and they will have victory.
And you mentioned stress. Really? How do we get rid of stress in our lives?
Well, walking reduces stress, Lynn. That is the #1 stress reducer. If you walk in the morning, you lower the level of stress at the beginning of the day, and then as you accelerate throughout the day, the stress level will be lower. And the other thing is get a pet. A pet reduces stress.
Thank you, Dr. Crandall. So for those of you who are couch potatoes and need that nudge to get out on a bike or to walk instead of driving a few blocks, let's check in with Newsmax Deputy Health Editor Nick Tate on the latest study on obesity. It's literally a call to action. Nick?
Hey, Lynn. I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, but I'm really curious about this. I thought it was overeating that was making us fat, not just sitting around.
Well, this is kind of a surprising finding. We've heard so much about, fat foods, no fat, what kind of diet you should eat. But in fact, the level of exercise you're getting is really the critical factor. The research found that over the last 20 years, the number of Americans who get no physical activity at all has jumped from between about 15 and 20% to over half. And that's the result. The result of that is that we're all getting heavier. At the same time, we're consuming just about the same amount of calories, just slightly more than we were eating 20 years ago. But the lack of activity is really the factor that's driving the nation's ever-expanding waistline.
Now, it's not just having an impact on our waistline and our weight. Not having enough exercise or not even just getting out and enjoying physical activity really can impact us both mentally and emotionally as well, right?
It can, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of connections between exercise and a lower risk for Alzheimer's disease, for dementia. And, obesity-related healthcare costs in this country amount to almost $150 billion a year. That's for physical as well as mental health issues. So, getting active, getting moving is really a very important part of staying healthy.
We've talked about this before, but people always come up with 1,000 excuses why they can't work physical activity into their daily lives. You and I have heard it. We're busy, we work too much, there's no time in the schedule, we have to take care of the kids, we have parents that need our assistance now. What do you say to those folks?
Well, I think you really need to take into account the fact that getting exercise needs to be on the same level as getting a good night's sleep.
One thing that I always try to do is to take the stairs whenever possible. Certainly not if I'm going to the 18th floor of the building, but whenever possible at the airport or the shopping mall or whatever it is, I just try to go up the stairs as opposed to getting on the escalator or the elevator. You think that's a good idea?
Very good idea. Just those simple steps, those simple extra steps, they really, really help. And the research that's done shows that you don't need to work out for 35 or 40 minutes at a time. 10 minutes here, housework, 10 minutes there, 5 minutes walking to the store or from work. They add up over your day, and if you're getting 30 to 40 minutes a day, even in those little increments, it counts and it helps.
And we've talked about the physical activity, but we need to say this in our final minute here, that really what you put into your body is as important as the kind of physical work that you're asking it to perform as well. I mean, diet is always important in keeping your good weight.
There's no question. I mean, what it really is, it's a balance. Your health is a balance of making sure that the calories that you're consuming, make them healthy, make them high nutrient calories, and make sure that you're burning enough calories in the day to burn them off. So, for most Americans, it's very, very simple. We need to move a little bit more. We need to eat a little bit less and eat a little bit better to get that balance right. But it is absolutely a mix of what we eat and how we move.
Well, with that said, I'm going to get up off this chair and go out and walk around. It's always good to hear from you. Thanks a lot, Nick. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll have more here on your health on Meet the Doctor. Stay with us.